Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today, it's time for the Rant. And we're going to be chatting about the future of iPad. Hello, welcome to the show. My name is Jade. This is How to App on iOS. It is a brand new week here in Australia. It's Monday. We're still here. The world hasn't ended. Solar storms still all around. Craziness. The whole world's abuzz over auroras, northern and southern auroras, but we're all still here. There's been no kill shot. We're safe, and we're going to talk about iPads today. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to our Wart Warriors. You can become a Wart Warrior by clicking the join button down below, or the link. It's $1 a month. It does help out the channel. Thank you to those who are Wart Warriors. As always, hello. Thanks, Thomas. Thomas, Christ. Slinging the links, as always. Greetings, Thomas. And hello to Audible Video, Barry Glenn, Joe Glenn, Rise of Dark Leela, those who are lurking. Hello to you. It's the Rant. Join the Patreon, SuperChats, SuperStickers, sling, links, slung, happy days. Let's move on. So what do we do here on the Rant? Well, we talk about stuff, and yes, iPads are the topic of today's rant. And if you come here thinking it's going to be some negative shit posting and hating on Apple, well, it's not exactly going to be like that. That's not what these rants aren't about. I try to have some information and, have a topic, talk about it for a bit, but always try to come out on the end with something positive because it's not all that bad. I see people online jumping out of their skin, freaking out, going, oh, it's the end of Apple. But every year it's the end of Apple. It's not happening. These things aren't going to happen. This company's just not going to dissolve into nothingness. But people every year need to have, I guess, videos to click on to get people riled up and excited and angry and pitchforks out and all this kind of stuff when it's just not the case. Sure, there were some changes and there were some things with the iPads that Apple didn't talk about when they released these new iPads just last week, and we're going to touch on some of those. Are they big problems? Not really. So, I mean, if that's the biggest problem you've got going on is that a company released a bunch of things that entertain you and help you create things and are a luxury in life that you don't actually really need one, but that's a big problem, maybe you need a psychiatrist. I think that's more the issue, because there's a lot of videos out on YouTube with people losing their utter minds over this stuff. And they're making multiple videos on this going, and they're freaking the hell out. And it's just okay. It's okay. Have an opinion. Yeah. This happened. They released these things. These are the changes. That doesn't really suit what I do. But there's wars going on and stuff. There's people getting brutalized. It's not really that important. But as an iPad user, I like talking about this stuff, and I'm cutting to the chase now. It's not all that bad, yeah? Most people, if you're into iPads, you pretty much right now have an iPad that is going to help you make the fantastic things that you envision in your mind. So, getting into it, let's have a vape, let's have a coffee, kick back, and we're going to get down to it. And you'll watch today's numbers on today's stream won't be as popular because it's not a controversial, misleading topic about emotions and stuff. And, there's people who feed on that shit, and we're just talking about technology today. So I love it. All right, let's have a coffee there. We have a little drink. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my history with the iPad because it's a long one. I've been using these things since they first dropped. and they continue to get better and better and better. At the end of the day, the cycle has changed so much with iPads. Yeah, the way we buy them, the way we buy consumer tech is changing year by year because it's getting so good that you don't need to buy one every year. Even as a technology, I guess, influencer, expert, whatever you want to call. I'm none of those things. I'm just a person who makes stuff and likes to talk. I like to talk. I talk a lot, don't I? A lot. Hi, Mr. Smith. G'day to you. And yeah, let's get into it. So when the iPad came out, hey, FPC, good to see you. Having a spaghetti bog for dinner. Spag bog. Nice one. I remember, let me go back a few years now. I remember when the first iPad came out and people lost their minds. But why did they lose their minds? I'll tell you why. The same reason they're losing their minds now. Over fuck all. Over nothing. Over the most infinitesimal, silly stuff. It was the name. When the iPad came out, people were like, kind of sounds like a maxi pad. Snigger. Everybody did it. Everybody did that, yeah? It was like, it's a bit too close to a period pad. Can I say that on... It's all right, I can say that on YouTube, as long as I use blue liquid instead of red liquid in a demonstration. I said it. No, but people have lost their mind and they're like, but it's just a big iPhone. It's just a big iPhone, man. Yeah, it was back then. It was pretty much just a big iPhone without cell phone technology on it. And, you know, that was the thing. Why? More to the point, why did I want an iPad? I'm going to tell you why I want an iPad, and it's relevant. I don't need to go through every iPad I've ever had or anything like that. I'll tell you why I got into an iPad. I was working on an album at the time. I just started working on an album. Funnily enough, the joke's on me, because I'm still working on that album. That's not because of what I'm using to record it. That is because of situations, circumstances that have happened in my life and things, lots of things that have happened. And unfortunately, it's a bit of an opus that has got out of hand. And these things do get out of hand, right? That's got nothing to do with the iPad. But I was working on a Windows computer, and of course, making music on a Windows computer, making music on a Mac, making music in whatever DAW you like is the right way to do it. That's the thing. I'm not here to tell you. This show's called How to App on iOS. It's not called How Not to App on Anything Else, right? This is sometimes I get people messaging me going, but I don't watch your show because there's nothing in it for me because I use a computer. It's like, but computers and iPads are at the same place. So there's value, right? You don't have to have an iPad to get what I'm throwing at you, because these days the same apps are on the same devices. The same DAWs are, you know, it's zeros, ones. It's all just the same shit in a different bucket, right? But when the iPad came out, I was working on an album on my computer, and I picked up this piece of glass and went, this is cool. Like, I can make music on, like, this is the future. Meanwhile, there were tech pundits out there, many, many tech pundits, you know who you are, who were saying this is nothing more than a consumption device. People are just going to watch movies on it, they're just going to watch YouTube on it, and that's it. And I thought that was utter wank. That's rubbish. There's no way that a piece of technology in 2010 that had dropped that was already so sophisticated was going to get worse. That's not how things work. Things get better. This is only going to get better and better. So I took the jump and moved to iOS only. And I kept a computer, of course, but I moved all my music creation to an iPad because my vision that I saw was this is going to be the future. This is the way I want to work. I want to touch a screen. I want to be able to do, I like this tactile idea of touching something. It makes me feel more connected to what I'm making. I like that. But as I say that now, look, here we are today where I have an iPad attached to a keyboard. And this is where we're at. So I can do both. I can actually sit here and type with one hand and touch with the other and flip. So that, to me, is where I always wanted it to go. But people continue to say about the iPad, this is just not going to be relevant unless it has, I don't know, macOS. And we are still in that place. We're still there. Hi the deal for real. We're still in that place now. I've been watching this whole iOS thing for many, many years. And every year, something gets released and people go, yeah, but it's not going to be good until it's got macOS. It's like, listen, I hate to be the person to break it to you. It's not happening. It's not happening, right? Like, if you're unable to see the clear path that Apple are going down over the last 4 years, I don't know what to tell you, right? It's round as well. But I don't know what to tell you because there is clearly a thing happening where iOS and macOS are merging. They are becoming very similar to each other. And that is going to be the roadmap that they are going to continue to go down, right? And we already have, as we see now, an iPad with a keyboard. This is getting closer to a Mac, but never the twain shall meet. If anything, I believe in my heart of hearts, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't work at Cupertino. I don't, I'm not involved in a multi-billion-dollar business that is, part A, a business that has to make money, and part C, trying to make technology that continues to grow and, well, we'll talk about this in a minute, used to empower people a little bit more, used to have a clearer idea of where it was going. That's the one thing that I don't like where iPad's going is the water seems like we're not getting a clearer path of what you can do with it. This is what Apple used to do all the time. They used to say, here's this thing and here's what you can do with it. That's how you make a feature, right? Be a feature. It's not a feature if you're not getting examples of what you can do with it. And Apple used to come out and say, here's this new thing and here's all the amazing stuff you can do with it. These days, it seems like they've fallen into this hole of just throwing features out there, right? I used to work for American Express, a corporate company, and we used to have these meetings with the way we would handle our calls with our top customers. And the idea was that you would take a call, fix the problem, and then leave the customer, or the card member as they like to call them. You never say the word customer. You leave the card member with an idea on how to use one of the features that they have. Right? So you'd say something like, thanks for your call today. Oh, I've just taken a look at the way you spend on your card and it looks like you're spending this amount of groceries this week. Did you know if you added your fuel to that, you would get more membership points and be able to use those to do this? Right? So you're taking a feature and you're painting a picture for that person to understand what they can actually do with the feature. If you just tell people like laundry list features at people, it's just nonsense because, and Apple were really good at that for a really long time, saying, here's this thing, but here's all the things you can do with it. And it seems like lately they have lost their way and starting to less get into the specifics of the creativity and what it can do for you and how it can change your life and why it's magical. Instead, here's a list of things that it can do. And that's what a lot of other companies do. And this is what set Apple apart for a very, very long time. So that's sad to see that kind of disappearing. But in saying that, with their devices and the way they have been updating their devices, every year has been a relatively amazing update. And iOS has got better and better. Let's just go back a bit and talk about the business model of Apple. Like I said just before, financial and the engineering side of it. So, these are two sides that never work together well in any business form, right? We live in a capitalist world and the corporate side, the money side has to go, we need to turn over profit because we have investors and we need these investors to stay happy and all this stuff. We need profit. That's the, the capitalist side of the corporations and business. But then over here, you've got software developers who work for Apple and hardware developers who are trying their best to come up with ideas and things to progress the technology. And then these two come together and obviously you've got problems because these people don't want to spend money, and these people want to do things that cost money. And that's business, you know. So there's always going to be that dynamic going on in Apple. And I think clearly over the last 10 years of Tim Apple being involved in Apple, this is something that has changed. The dynamic has become more money orientated and stuff. But you can't just say that they're turning their back on technology. It's just, where else can you go with these devices? They're already at such a high level that the majority of people who own an iPad Pro in 2024 are barely using a quarter of its capabilities to do things with. So really, what's the point of, you know, how are you going to be able to add all this amazing stuff to it if, like, people are barely using what is involved in it? So technology is at a point now it's bottlenecking. Yeah. And look at this. Let's talk about iPads I have. So I had the original iPad, and I had an iPad 2. I've had 4 of these suckers. Look at this thing. I can't believe this thing still works. Here we go. Show you over here. Look at that. Look, it's got a crack on it. Look how dusty it is. It sits by my bed on a stand. It's all dirty and stuff. Still works. There you go. An iPad mini. What is this, a mini 3 or something like that? So I've had about 5 of these things. I won 2 in a competition. You know what I use this for next to my bed? It's an alarm clock. It's an alarm clock. That's all it does. Sits on the stand. It works as an alarm clock. I haven't bothered getting the crack fixed. It's been fixed multiple times, this thing's from dodgy third-party repair places. The glass has been fixed. Got 2 cracks, one across there, one across the front. Still works. Doesn't really matter. You know, that's all good. But the technology is changing all the time and getting better and better, better chips. And Apple are at this point too with chips where can they go? These M-class chips are so far ahead of the curve against other technologies and they're, what are they, 3 nanometer size? The amount of transistors are just ridiculous. How much smaller do we have to get? Clearly, Apple want to get thinner and smaller because of the things that they did at this this conference with the new iPad. The thing is, too, not every year are people updating. I'm not updating my iPad. For this iPad that I have now, I currently have the iPad 2022 M2, 1 terabyte, 16 gig of RAM, and I bought this Australia price, trust me, $3,200. Yeah, luckily, though, I had a friend who works at Apple and I got to use their discount, which is a nice percentage off, so I got a nice discount on it. But the retail price for this iPad that I have now is $3,200. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money for a lot of people. Yeah, they didn't replace Steve Jobs, and that was the thing. I don't think they were ever going to replace him. They had a roadmap from Steve Jobs to continue going on the path that they were going to go down, and apparently they have acted on those with things like Apple Watch and all that kind of stuff. Some of the decisions, but here's the thing. People watching these videos that are around on YouTube at the moment of people like losing their utter minds over a change to the 5G, the radio in the iPad Pro, like literally losing their minds. Apple have done stupid things forever as a company. There are so many products they have released in the past that have been garbage. I mean, really, let's be honest. Just like any other company. Google, like, look at Google Mail, right? Let's talk about Google Mail for a minute. How many things have Google Mail introduced? Like, hey, you've got these little conversations you can have with, and nothing works. Google have cancelled so many things, but so have Apple. They have released so many things that have been rubbish, and they've just, deleted them, got rid of them. They make mistakes all the time. People make mistakes. People fuck up all the time. People do dumb things, fall down rabbit holes, whatever you want. But it's the way you recover that's the most important thing. And I think Apple are at this point now with their iPads where, again, where are you going to go? right? Now remember, again, you're going to head back to this a lot today. They're a company. Remember, they collect stats on everything, Apple. They used to do their keynotes where they'd sit there and do their customer sat percentages on, and they collect stats on everything. They send questionnaires out to people. They try and find out what people are enjoying, what people don't like. Every single interaction you have with them ends in a survey, and that's like with nearly all companies these days. Please hang on the line for a survey. Yes, and did you know, like, this is an important thing that I'm getting off target. I always do on these shows. If you get offered a survey on a phone call and you genuinely have had a good customer experience, go ahead and do that survey. Do you know how much focus companies put on end-of-call surveys? End-of-call surveys for telemarketers are like the majority of their stats for the month. And if they get terrible surveys, they lose their job. And a lot of the time, you're taking it out on people who have no power. They really do have. So next time you have an interaction, even though the company is like, the policy is shit and, you know, it hasn't been solved, judge the person on how hard they've tried to accommodate you, how much they've listened to you, and how much they have tried their best to work around the idiotic policies that companies put in place, because those surveys are really important. And Apple does heaps of those things. So why am I talking about this now? Because they've made a lot of changes to their iPad, which they didn't talk about on the keynote. And you know what? Why would you? Why would you do a keynote and go, here's a new thing, and here's all the stuff we took out of the iPad this year, right? But are there reasons? Are there valid reasons why Apple removed things from these new iPad Pros? Is there a valid reason? Or is it just marketing spin? Or is it cut costing? Or people just not using these things? We really don't know, because we don't work for Apple. We're not in there. But you can guarantee, like with most things, money is the answer to a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of it. We want more of it, so we can give them more of the money that we have to be able to afford the stuff that they make, so they can have more money. ABBA said it best, money. It's all down to money, and that is it. Hello, Sith. Good to see you. Tim Apple just wants pretty things. Well, I'm not even going to go down that path, because it's silly. It's no point. Just trying to make cheap jokes. And that's not what we're here for, are we? We're here for me to have a fucking rant. Stone the Flaming Crows. Alf Stewart, he's got a dungeon. I don't know if you know that. He's definitely got a dungeon. All right. Where are we at? 26 minutes in. Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that Apple didn't tell you at the keynote, because guess what? There's heaps of things they didn't talk about, right? And this is the shit that people are losing their minds over. They're utterly going cray-cray for this stuff. Let's start with the Apple iPad Air. So they released 2 iPads. Yeah, the original iPad, they dropped down $100 or something. Good call. Absolutely good call to do that. It's you know, you can see I've got one of them here. Look at this. See this? I have this floating above my. This is an iPad 2017. It can't be updated with any later software anymore. But you know what? I love having it here on this little stand, because I can type little extra stuff. I can put lyrics on it when I'm singing, and I can have music on this thing. So I keep this thing around. I don't sell my secondhand iPads. I think I've never actually sold one. I've given them away. I think I gave one to a grandparent, and I gave one to another relative as well, and a friend. So I've given plenty of them away. I've never sold any, but I like to keep them around. See over here? Yes, we've got my iPad mini. This iPad mini here. This is my 2018 iPad Pro, which I keep by the side of my bed. That's my laptop that I use. So, I keep them around. Hey, I paid all that money for them. I'm going to squeeze as much out of them as I possibly can because they cost so much, I work hard to get one of these things, They're an investment. That's what they are. Hello, Jim. Good to see you. Let's not go into solar flares. All right? There's no point. But for a second, it has been interesting watching the whole world this weekend going, what are CMEs and solar flares and what are all these things? It's just amazing. We live in a world where, we focus on dumb stuff like an iPad the pencil doesn't work on the new iPad, but people over this weekend have only just found out what a solar flare is and what space weather is and why NASA put cameras around the sun and what an aurora actually is. It amazes me that with all this technology and information we have, all these people are on Facebook going, I just found out what a solar flare is. Wow. Strange. So, the iPad Air was released by Apple. And if you have seen it, guess what? It's pretty much an iPad Air. What a surprise. What a surprise that Apple released an iPad Air. And guess what? It's exactly what you thought it would be, an iPad Air. But it's different this time because guess what? It's 11 inches instead of 10.9. And it's no longer 12.9. It's now 13 inches. Isn't that amazing? It's bigger. It's not. It's a lie. It's not bigger. The screen's no bigger. It's exactly the same size. The actual screen is the same size. It's a little bit bigger. Why is it bigger? Why did they make these things a little bit bigger? Is it PR? Is it to add more things like, I don't know, a new Magic Keyboard? Interesting. Well, it can't be that 100%. What is it? What is the reason that they did this? Well, you're going to have to wait because it's the halfway point of the show. And every day we run an ad because YouTube is ad supported. And that is how content creators make money. And I used to run automatic ads. So people would get random sporadic ads halfway through the show. And that would take you out of the moment. So now what we do is we run the ad now. And if you're a premium subscriber, you can avoid the ads or just click through and you can avoid the ads that way. And during that time, I get to let you know what's happening on the channel for this week and still run the ad and you don't miss anything of this rant. Which means tomorrow we're taking a look at this scalar EQ. You're not going to want to miss it. This thing is truly magical. Yeah, it is the first world ever musical EQ, and what it does is spectacular. I'm in love with this app. I think it is wonderful. It takes EQ and just adds something really, really special to EQ, and I can't believe we are in 2024 and it's taken this long to come up with something like this. I really think Scalar EQ is a barrel of fun. Then the day after, guess what's happening? Logic Pro is being released. This is the really exciting thing from the keynote. But guess what? People are really pumped about it. Is it going to change the way you make music? Probably not. It's probably going to be disappointing. You know what I'm saying? Hype these days for a bunch of new features because people aren't satisfied. They want more. We got this new thing. It's great for the first day, but now I want something else. People aren't satisfied. They want something else straight away. They do. Also, what's happening this week is at some point, I'm not telling you when, is KA Mini Percussions. We'll take a look at this thing. Wonderful Chinese instruments in a very cheap app. Plus, there's another show I want to show you, but I can't because it's a secret. And we got a fantastic interview coming up this week with Savannah Woods, which I'll tell you more about during the week of the shows. Here we are back at the fresh air, the iPad Air. Look at it. Look at how wonderful it is in all its new size glory. Look at that. It's the same screen size. There's been no change to it. It's absolutely the exact same screen size. It's a little bit bigger. Why is it a little bit bigger? Well, let me tell you a couple of things. In 2022, Apple released the iPad Pro and the iPad Air, and they also released a refreshed version of the original iPad. And they did this thing which at the time I thought was baffling. They moved the camera from the top of the iPad to the side for landscape, which is long overdue, because the worst thing about using an iPad is the camera was always on the top and it just didn't make sense to shoot like this when you could shoot like this. So they finally did it back in 2022. They moved the camera to the side on the entry-level iPads. And I bought the same year an iPad Pro and was really disappointed, saying, but where's the side camera for me? I just spent $3,200. Well, there's a reason. And that reason is engineering, okay? And money. Of course, remember, money's always there, but engineering is the problem. Why? Because we have this thing called the iPad here, and these modern iPads have this thing attached to it called a pencil. And the way these things are charged are they magnetize to the top, to that side there. Now, think about this. When they move the camera from over here and put it up here, up the top there, that means there's technology in this very, very thin device that is a camera over here that has face recognition, and they've got to move that up here to the top where a pencil has to connect magnetically as well and charge. Okay, how much room is in this iPad? Yeah, it's only really thin. Where are you going to put that? Now, Apple, being very, very anal, very much about aesthetics and the way everything sits center and everything's got to be symmetrical and perfect. They are perfectionists. They're like a company full of Virgos. That's not a good thing. Right? So what have they been doing? Trying to find a way to make this thing look like, with the camera sitting up the top, with a pencil being able to magnetize up the top, still look symmetrical, still make it look right. So what have they done? Well, they put the camera up here finally in this year's editions. They released a new pencil as well. And if you saw my show, when I covered the event, I was like looking at the new pencil going, yeah, man, new pencil Pro, I'm going to get it for my... What? It doesn't work with my current iPad. I think it's becoming a bit clear. The new Apple Pencil Pro, they have actually moved the charging source of the pencil. So everything can fit into this iPad, so it makes sense. And if you look at the close-up pictures of these things, even the iPad Air, because the iPad Air now has this pencil as well, look at the camera. Let's zoom in on this thing, if I can. It's not in the center. Look at that. So let's get it in the center here and run right up the middle of this. The camera is off to the side. Now, you know, at Apple, they were probably freaking out over this. It's not in the... It's got to be in the center. How can we make it fit so all the electronics fit and everything? Well, that's what they've done. Look, that pencil is still sitting flush. Still sitting flush, but they've moved that camera over a little bit. And you know that somebody's sitting there for freaking out every time they see it going, it's not right, though. It doesn't look right. But this is what they've had to do. They have had to do that, and it's not going to make any effects for the camera. It's off center. You're probably going to have to move a tiny bit to the side, but this is what they've done. And in doing that, this has caused some things to have to be removed, apparently. So, I mean, you take this with a grain of salt. What is the truth? We don't know. We don't work at Apple, do we? Hi, Pookie. Good to see you. What's happening? We don't work at Apple, man. We don't, we don't make the business decisions and all that stuff. So here we are with a new pencil. Now, the only pencils that work with the iPad Air and the iPad Pro now are these new Apple Pro pencils. They're not going to work with the other ones at all, right? You have to use the iPad 2 pencil for that to work with everything else. Even this iPad, I think, does the pencil? Yeah, so you can't use this current pencil with any of the new ones, right? You can't do it. So this pencil I have will not work with any of the 4 iPads that have been released that are coming out this week. You have to have the new pencil. So to a degree, it's marketing as well, you know. So there's that. So that's but what have they had to remove to accommodate the camera move? Well, they took away a microphone. So there is now only 4 microphones in the iPads. They've taken away a microphone because this camera clearly had a microphone attached to it. So they had to make room. Because you know what? They had to make the iPad thin. They had to. Because reasons. Anyway, they had to make it thin. I mean, what would we do if it was still the same thickness? I don't know. I would lose my mind if it was the same thickness because, you know, this current iPad that I have, it's so incredibly thick right now. I go to bed each night and I wake up in a hot sweat going, what am I going to do? It's so thick. No, doesn't happen. Does it? Doesn't happen at all. But they took away a microphone and they did something else, which not a lot of people noticed. So we're on the iPad Air at the moment. Let me age over to the iPad Pro. They took something else away. And can you guess what it is? They took a camera away. This is a company who've spent years and years and years and years every keynote telling us that the fucking cameras are better and better and better. And look at the cameras. Look what they do. Look at these photos. Here's a video we made of us using the camera. And look at the pixelation and the numbers and all this shit that you'd sit there going, oh, man, move on, please. They literally took a camera away. They took away the ultra-wide camera right there. And look what they replaced it with. A dot. We don't even know what this dot does. Apparently, it's a what is it? Apparently, it's for scanning documents. Okay, so it's replaced with an ambient light sensor over here. They took the camera, man. This camera is worse than the iPhone 11 camera. But was it all about the size? Or remember, Apple do surveys and surveys. Were people using it? Well, that's the interesting thing because Apple tell us that the iPad Pro is for professionals who are making movies and they show scenes of people holding the iPad and shooting movies. So why the fuck would you take away the camera? Oh, I forgot. It's got to be thin because the nightmares I had last night about it being so thick, not being able to use it properly. But look, is this something to get worked up about? Not really. I'm just trying to make light of it. I don't really care at the end of the day. But they did take away a camera, and that is noteworthy. What else did they take away from the iPad Pro? Because remember, this is the Pro device. This is for professionals, right? You want to be not taking things away. Okay, well, it comes in a bunch of flavors. It comes in a bunch of like sizes and stuff. And for the first time ever, they did this as well. They changed the way the chip is on the device. So if I choose an 11-inch model and choose a black one over here and choose a 500 gig model, the actual M4 chip that I'm getting only has 9 cores running in it. Whereas the other two devices, the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte, come with 10 cores of processing power in this new chip. So they actually, for the first time, not only have they changed, you know, it's always been the 256 and 512 gig are 8 gigabytes of RAM, and these two are 16 gig of RAM. That's still the same, but they actually changed the chip. So the M2 is a little bit less powerful between the two. Plus, then they added this other thing, this nano texture glass. And I don't know if you've looked at it closely, this nano texture glass isn't even, right, from end to end. It's only from screen to screen. So when they apply it, in the manufacturing process, when they send you one out, the bezels are still shiny. It's just an odd choice. Like, there's just a lot of really odd choices with this thing. Again, am I up at night worrying about it? I don't give a shit. I've got a really good iPad. I don't care. No more SIM trays. Here's what else. No more SIM trays. So if you're traveling overseas with this thing, no SIM trays. You can't swap out a SIM anymore. So you need to think about these things if you're traveling. This is an important thing because people these days, I don't know if you're aware of this, they travel and they go from country to country. And sometimes you need to go to a country and you need to like purchase a SIM in that country because you're getting ripped off back at home. Now you could say this is a conspiracy between, you know, someone like Apple and these phone companies that rip you off and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. No SIM trays whatsoever. And the iPhone's been like this already, so nothing new. They also, talking about 5G, they removed the millimeter wave 5G from the radios on the iPad Pros as well. But is this a big thing? Again, still nothing. It's still nothing because a lot of people aren't even using this technology, yeah? You have to be really close to one of these special towers that has this this special millimeter 5G stuff. Is it going to have an effect? Not really. But again, I think this is where it is. They're taking things away, and this is what they're not telling you. Again, is it troubling? No, not really. Not really. Hey, Pete, what's going on? Here's another one. Let's talk about this. I didn't talk about this. In the UK and EU, all these new iPads don't come with a charging brick. Interesting. With all the stuff that's going on, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, Pete. This is the thing. But again, like I've said before, a lot of these YouTube content creators, they're so angry, man. And then they say, at the end of their rant, they go, it's the worst thing ever. I've never used it. I'm not angry about this stuff. I don't give a crap. Right? Because even if you're on an iPad before an M series chip, these new iPads are a great update. Yeah, 100%. But also, the refurb market is mint. Check out the refurb market because there's some really fantastic iPads up there. M1s, M2s. And let me tell you, as somebody who used to work at Apple, okay, don't be afraid of refurbs. Right? There's a reason why Apple have one of the biggest trade-in programs going on. And they even have places that you can go and dump your phone and not trade it in and just dump it. And there's a reason why they do this, because they don't just you're just not getting a refurb that has like a hard drive in it that's done like 12 million cycles. It doesn't work like that. People are gullible enough to go, here's my phone, take it. They have machines in their shops, right, that can literally take apart an iPhone. I've worked at Apple. I'm telling you this stuff. They have literal machines made to take apart these devices. They can take apart these devices, cherry pick the things they want, and put together a new iPad with these parts. It's refurbished, but they make them, right? You're getting a really good device. You're getting virtually a brand new device because they make them. You're getting it from them. So there's a fantastic refurb market out there on Apple. Seriously, look at that before buying one of these because it's a lot of money to buy these things. The charging brick. Interesting choice, especially with all the stuff going on in the EU with like side loading and all these dramas. That could be another court case, who knows. The new iPad Pro has a smaller battery as well. And I know people are probably, I've seen them losing their shit. It's a smaller battery. Yeah, but the M4 has better process management. So you're getting the same life out of a smaller battery. It's a smaller footprint. That's Apple's reason. Because you remember, it has to be thinner. It has to be thinner. It has to be thinner. Man, I'm scared to go to sleep at night now because I wake up every morning going, my iPad's so thick. I don't think I can use it anymore. How am I going to make music? It's so thick. It mocks me at every moment. Look at it. Look at it mocking me with its thickness. It's a piece of glass. The technology's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What I can do on this thing is mind-numbing. It's beyond reality. So no SIM trays. 13-inch iPads, iPad Pros, compared to 11-inch iPads. Remember, 13-inch iPads, they're no bigger. The screen's the same size. The actual footprint, it's just remember that. Keep it in mind. It's just a number, right? I like big iPads, and I cannot lie. Absolutely. But the 13-inch iPads are actually brighter. Why? I don't know. I've got no idea. These are just really strange. You've got to admit, there's strange things that they did. But obviously, is this going to stop really devoted fanboys from buying these things? No, absolutely not. They've got to have the newest thing each year. The new Magic Keyboard only works with the new iPad Pro, right? So there's that. Remember that as well. If you are investing in one of these things, the new iPad Pro, the thing to remember is you're going to have to update a lot of things. You're going to need a new pencil. You're going to need a new Magic Keyboard if you got one of those. This is a big investment. It's a lot of money to pay. But the great thing is these updates aren't huge because going back to what we said earlier, where can we go with this stuff? This stuff is already amazing. I don't give a shit, man. The small things still impress me. To get up every day and have this thing in front of me, right? To have this thing in front of me, there it is, and just pick it up and go some. It still blows my mind. Look at this laptop here. Look at it. Cumbersome. Go away. It's still impressive. I don't know. My mind these days is more blown by stupid things people say than technology. Because technology is already so amazing. Yes, and, Jim, trade-in value. They do have pretty valuable trade-ins because they want your parts, man. They want your parts so they can make refurbs, so they can get more iPads in more people's hands. Why do they want to get more iPads in more people's hands? Why do they cannibalize their own market share? Because there's that other thing that they have, and that's coming up now in the next month, software and services. And that's going to be the next thing we're going to be talking about to close out this show, because I'm seeing this a lot, man. We've covered all the things that they've removed from the iPads. Look, the way to go, if you're going to buy a new iPad, go get an M1, go get an M2. Look for something that's refurbished. Use Apple. Do it. You're going to have a fantastic piece of equipment. You don't need the latest thing, unless you do. If you do, have at it. But don't tear people down about not having the latest thing. That stuff's silly. So the last point we're going to talk about today before we get out of here is software and services, because the developer conference is coming up, WWDC. It's coming up next month. And what's going to happen there? I know there are people, I've seen them, and they're like, it needs macOS. The iPad won't progress until we have macOS. It's not fucking happening. I'm sorry. Have at it. But keep going, all right? The merging of iOS and Mac will continue. It will continue to happen. And it will eventually, the people who love the way Mac works is going to stay the same. It's just going to look more iOS. And the difference is iPad's just not going to have the file system that you can dig into. That's it. It's going to get to that point. I think before anything else happens is that there is going to be a Mac that has a touch screen before an iPad gets Mac OS. That is more likely a thing. And a non-removable screen at that. Why? Because it makes sense. We're getting to a point where people now have keyboards and are using keyboard and touch at the same time. So it's more likely that Apple are going to head down that path and make a Mac that has a touch screen with a keyboard. Only the iPad is a removable thing. It's something you have to piece together. It's like that's the thing. It's like an a la carte device. And what are you getting for it? It's that portability of not having a keyboard, having that touch thing. And look, yeah, iOS does suck, but it, you know, it depends on where they go with it. I can't make any predictions. We're going to see what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, they're just going to continue to dictate what they want to do. But what I'd really like to see, I'd love to see Apple go back to like, here's a feature and here's what you can do with it. I'd love that because I like seeing what you can do with these things. People resonate more when you show people what something is and then here's what it can do for you. See you, Pete. I'll be dumping everybody over to YML after this. Ultimately, let's close it up. So, look, I don't know what's going to happen with iOS. I can't make predictions. Apple are they're a pretty boring company when it comes down to it. They don't really do too much that's outside of the box. Sure, the technology that they do release most of the time is a few years old, but they just seem to do it a little bit better when it works. And sometimes it doesn't work and it fails. But people forget the failures, don't they? What is the point of this rant today? The rant is to remind you that what you have right now, this, whatever it is that you're using, it pretty much 80% is already enough. Enjoy it. Enjoy what you have. Make stuff with it. Relish it. I still pick up my iPad every day and just go, wow, it's wicked. It's so cool. Like, when I was a kid, I was making music on 4-track tape recorders. And I thought that was fucking amazing. You know, look at that now. You show that to a kid these days, go, look at this fucking Tascam. They'll be like, are you mental? I need to put you in a mental institution. What are you talking about? We have already most amazing things to make amazing things. So getting bent out of shape it really isn't worth it's not worth the stress. There's already so much stress in the world. And if you're not getting enjoyment out of these things, maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe it's not Apple's fault, right? So be happy, enjoy it. And don't get sucked into the vortex of you need the newest one, because you don't. I said this to Brad, my friend Brad. He's like, as soon as this dropped, he was like, oh, now my iPad's out of date. It's like, how much music have you made with that new iPad? And he hasn't made that much with it. So maybe you should make some stuff on this one first, you know. All right, let's get out of here. We're going to play our featured artist. I hope you've enjoyed this mindless rant. You know, just try not to get sucked into the angry people who have pitchforks and this and that. There's so much more to get upset about and fight for than a bloody piece of glass that helps you do things. You know, be amazed. You know, look, solar flares, auroras. Look, this weekend people were blown away by colours in the sky. And yet this thing in front of me is like, oh, but it could be better. It's like, bitch, you're getting excited over colours in the sky, fireworks, stupid stuff like that. You know. All right, today's featured artist is Jerry Gomes. He's an amazing artist. I've got to master a lot of his music over the years that I've known him. He's a great musician in this community, and I love playing people's music here on the show. That's what we do to close out every show. Lots of good stuff coming up. Tomorrow we got Scalar EQ, so get your ass over and watch it. It's a great app. And, yeah, thanks, Miami. I love my desk. I've worked hard for it. There's a Mac over there. There's stuff everywhere. But, you know, surround yourself with the things that you like. You don't need all the things. Just get the things that you like. And most of the time, you know what? You don't need them all. You can make music with nothing. It's so good. This is our friend, Jerry Gomes. This is a track called After Sundown. Let's play this, baby. Let's get out of here. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together. We'll see you over at Pete Johns for YML. Stay awake. Let's Oge. Boom.